You don't move to Japan to marry an ultranationalist. You moved to Japan because you're 27 and your therapist in Seattle said you needed distance from your patterns, and what you heard was flee the continent. You've got a photography degree that's impressed exactly 0 employers, a portfolio of images nobody wanted to license, and a string of relationships so catastrophically boring that your last boyfriend's idea of spontaneity was ordering Thai food without looking at the menu first. Your mother asks if this is running away. You tell her it's running toward. You don't mention that you have no idea what you're running toward. Just that staying still in Seattle has started to feel like slow death by coffee shop Wi-Fi and dating apps full of men who describe themselves as fiscally conservative but socially curious. The plan is a 1-year artist visa. Stay in Tokyo. Photograph the real Japan, the one tourists don't see. Build a portfolio worthy of gallery walls. Return home transformed. You land at Narita with $2,300, 3 camera bodies, more lenses than sense, and the unearned confidence of a woman who has watched one too many Instagram accounts of people who found themselves in Asia. Your Japanese is functional enough to order food and apologize, which, as it turns out, are the 2 most essential skills for existing in Tokyo without causing an international incident. The first month is brutal. You're staying in a share house in Nakano with 5 other foreigners who all have the same story. Came for a year, stayed for 3, still don't know why. The room is 7 square meters. Your window faces a wall. The shower is coin-operated. You photograph everything obsessively. Train stations at 5 a.m., salarymen sleeping standing up. Vending machines in the rain. Old women at vegetable stalls. Shinto shrines wedged between apartment blocks. You're searching for something in these images. Some kind of truth. Some kind of meaning. Mostly you find compositions and light. Then October happens. You're at Yasukuni Shrine on a Sunday. Not because you're political. Because the light through the torii gates at 4 p.m. does something otherworldly to black and white film. You're crouched by the main hall, adjusting your aperture, when you hear them. Drums first, then voices, then engines. A convoy of black vans rolls into the shrine grounds, speakers blasting military march music so loud it vibrates in your chest. The vans are covered in flags. The rising sun. Slogans in kanji you can't read but feel in your spine. Men pour out. Not dozens. Hundreds. They're dressed identically. Black paramilitary uniforms. White gloves. Headbands with red circles. They move with the precision of a mechanism. No individual steps. One collective organism. You should leave. Every instinct you have that isn't stupid says leave. But you're a photographer. And this is the most visually arresting thing you've ever seen. So you do what photographers do when they should run. You lift your camera. You get 3 shots before he notices you. He's standing apart from the formation, taller than the others. Maybe 6'1", which in Japan is mythology. Mid-30s. Black uniform crisper than the rest. No headband. His face is the kind of angular that would photograph like a blade. Cheekbones you could cut yourself on. Hair short and severe. And he's looking directly at you. Not at your camera. At you. Through the lens. Like he can see the exact thought you're having, which is, I should not be here. He walks toward you. Not fast. Not slow. The crowd parts for him, without looking. Like water around a stone. He stops 3 feet away and says in Japanese, "You're photographing us." It's not a question. You lower the camera. Your Japanese abandons you. You say in English, "I'm sorry. I'm a photographer. I didn't mean." He switches to English. His accent is perfect. Not American perfect. British perfect. Clipped. Exact. Every syllable a decision. You didn't mean to photograph a political rally at a controversial shrine, or you didn't mean to be noticed? You recalibrate. This man is not going to accept a fumbled apology. You say, I didn't think it was controversial to document what's happening in public. Something changes in his face. Not a smile. The architecture that might become a smile, if it wanted to. He says, most foreigners apologize 6 times and run. You're either very brave or very stupid. You say, I'm a photographer. We're professionally stupid. Now he does smile. Barely. The edge of it. He extends his hand. Western gesture. Deliberate. Takumi Ishihara. You take it. His grip is exactly firm enough to communicate control. You give him your name. He repeats it once. Perfectly. He says, "You're American." Seattle. You're far from home. That's the idea. He looks at your camera, then at you, then at the rally forming behind him. Men assembling into ranks, flags rising. He says, "You want to photograph something real? Not tourist Japan. Real Japan." You should say no. You say, yes. He says, "Then photograph this. All of it. But you show me everything before you publish anything." That's the condition. You're a photographer. You don't negotiate your editorial control, except you hear yourself say, "Deal." He nods once. Then he returns to the formation. You watch him take a position at the front. When he raises his hand, 300 men go silent in unison. When he speaks, they respond like thunder. You photograph all of it. 2 rolls of film. 60 exposures. Your hands shake the entire time. Afterward, he finds you at the shrine gate. The rally is dispersing. Men loading into vans. Flags coming down. He's removed his gloves. There's a scar across his right knuckles. Old. Deep. The kind you get from something sharp meeting bone. He says, "Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Shinjuku Gyoen. Bring the contact sheets." You don't ask how he knows you shoot film. You just say, "I'll be there." You develop the film that night in a darkroom you rent by the hour in Shinjuku. You don't sleep. You print every frame. When you lay them out at 6 a.m., they're extraordinary. Not because of your skill, because of the subject. The images are terrifying and beautiful. Order and fanaticism. Devotion that looks like fury. And in 12 of the frames, him. Centered. Commanding. A man who looks like he could start or stop history with one hand. You meet him at Shinjuku Gyoen at 2 p.m. He's in civilian clothes. Black jacket. Black jeans. White shirt. No logos. No branding. He looks like money that doesn't need to prove anything. You spread the contact sheets on a park bench. He examines every frame. Slowly. The way someone reads terms and conditions they actually intend to understand. He stops on one image. Him. Facing the crowd. Arm raised. Backlit by late sun. It looks like propaganda. It looks like art. The line between the two has never been thinner. He says, "You made us look noble." You say, "I photographed what was there." He looks at you for a long time. Then he says, "No, you photographed what you saw. That's different." He taps the image. "I want a print of this. Full size." You say, "I don't sell my work to subjects." He says, "I'm not buying it. I'm commissioning more." And that's how it starts. He hires you, not officially. There's no contract, no invoice. He pays in cash, thick envelopes that appear after every shoot. You photograph rallies, meetings, ceremonies, training sessions in the mountains where men in uniform practice formations that look half military, half ritual. You photograph speeches at shrines, memorials for soldiers, gatherings in Tokyo where older men in expensive suits bow to Takumi like he's a shogun and their retainers who remember what loyalty cost. You don't ask what the organization is. You research it yourself. Uyoku Dantai. Japanese ultranationalist groups. Right-wing. Some call them extremists. Some call them patriots. They believe Japan has lost its soul, that the West corrupted it, that the post-war order humiliated the nation. They want restoration. Of pride. Of tradition. Of a Japan that exists mostly in collective memory and selective history. They're controversial. They're legal. They're everywhere and nowhere. Visible and untouchable. Takumi leads one of the largest groups in Kanto. 30 years old. Third generation. His grandfather founded the organization in 1952. His father expanded it. Takumi rebuilt it. You piece this together from context. From overheard conversations. From the way men twice his age defer to him. He never explains. He simply is. You photograph him more than anyone else. Not intentionally. He's just always in the center of the frame. Gravitationally, the way certain subjects demand focus. He notices. One evening after a rally in Yokohama, he's looking at the proofs and says, "You photograph me like I'm your subject." You say, "You are my subject." He says, "No, the movement is your subject. I'm just one part." You say, "The camera disagrees." He looks at you. The air in the room changes temperature. He says, "Are you photographing me or are you studying me?" You don't answer because you don't know. By December, the professional boundary has become theoretical. He starts asking you to dinners, not rallies. Dinners. Small places. Intimate restaurants in Ebisu and Azabu where the chefs know him and don't ask questions. He orders everything. You eat things you can't pronounce. He watches you eat the way someone watches a film they're trying to understand. Not creepy. Curious. Focused. He asks about Seattle, about your family, about why you photograph. You tell him things you haven't told people you've known for years. Because he listens. Not politely. Completely. Like your words are a text he's translating. You ask him questions too. Carefully. He answers some. His father died when he was 19. Heart attack at a rally. Takumi took over the organization a month later. He studied in England. International relations. He came back to Japan and chose this. Not because he inherited it, because he believed it. You ask what he believes. He says that nations are not just governments. They're souls. And Japan's soul is dying under foreign influence and corporate amnesia. You say, "You think I'm foreign influence?" He says, "I think you see things clearly." That's rare regardless of passport. By January, you're staying at his apartment in Roppongi. Not officially. You just stop going back to Nakano. His place is massive. Minimalist. Top floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Tokyo Tower. Tatami room with a shrine in the corner. Photos of his father and grandfather in uniform. Calligraphy scrolls that say things you need him to translate. He translates them as duty, loyalty, sacrifice. You photograph the apartment. He doesn't stop you. He says, "You'll make it look better than it is." You say, "I only photograph what's there." He says, "Then I must be better than I think." You sleep with him that night. It's not spontaneous. It's been moving toward this since Yasukuni. Since the contact sheets. Since the first dinner. When it happens, it's not gentle. It's deliberate. Controlled. He holds you like something valuable that might break if mishandled. Afterward, you're lying in his bed, Tokyo glittering outside, and he says, "You know what I am?" You say, "Yes." He says, "And you're still here." You say, "I'm a photographer. I go where the story is." He says, "Is that what I am?" "A story." You turn to face him. You say, "I don't know what you are yet." He kisses you. Then he says, "Good. I don't trust people who think they know me quickly." By March, you're not pretending anymore. You're together. Not publicly. His world doesn't work that way. But privately, utterly. You've met his lieutenants. Older men who look at you like a foreign object in a sterile environment. Potentially contaminating. He doesn't explain you. He simply presents you. This is her. She photographs our work. That's all. They bow. You bow back. The dynamic is established. You're his. That means you're protected. It also means you're watched. You feel it. Men in black cars outside the apartment. Someone always 3 steps behind you on the street. You mention it once. He says, "You're close to me now. That requires precautions." You say, "Precautions against what?" He says, "People who don't want us to exist." You let it go, but you feel it. The weight of proximity to something larger and more dangerous than you understood. The proposal happens in April. Cherry blossom season. He takes you to Kadoragafuchi. The moat is lined with trees, petals falling like snow. It's 6 a.m. No tourists yet. Just the two of you and the early light. You're photographing the blossoms when he says your name. You turn. He's holding a small black box. He opens it. The ring is elegant. Simple. A single diamond on a platinum band. He says, I want you to stay, not as a photographer, as my wife. Your brain short circuits. You say, we've known each other 6 months. He says, I knew at Yasukuni. The rest was confirmation. You say, you're asking me to marry into something I don't fully understand. He says, yes, but I'll spend the rest of my life helping you understand. You look at the ring, at him, at the petals falling into the moat. You think about Seattle, about the share house, about the life you left because it was too small. This is not small. This is enormous and dangerous and utterly insane. You say, yes. He slips the ring on your finger. Then he kisses you under the cherry blossoms like a man who just won something he didn't expect to win. The wedding is in June. Private. A Shinto ceremony at Meiji Shrine. His people fill the hall. 200 men in formal dress. Dark suits. White gloves. They bow when you enter. You're wearing a white shiromaku. That's no kakashi. Hood hides your face. Traditional. You feel like you're in a period drama. Except this is your life. Your mother flies in from Seattle. She's the only American in the room. She sits in the front row, crying, completely overwhelmed. Afterward, she pulls you aside and whispers, do you know what you've done? You say, I married someone I love. She says, he's not just someone's sweetheart. You say, I know exactly who he is. You don't. Not fully. But you will. The honeymoon is in Kyoto. 4 days at a traditional ryokan in Arashiyama. The room overlooks the river. Bamboo groves outside. It's stunningly beautiful. Also, there are 2 men staying in the adjacent room. You hear them through the walls. Takumi says, security. Ignore them. You say, this is normal for you? He says, this is necessary. You let it go. You spend 4 days in a bubble. Kaiseki meals. Onsen baths. Long walks through temples. He's different here. Softer. He holds your hand in public, which he never does in Tokyo. He talks about his father. About the pressure of legacy. About the weight of leading men who believe in something bigger than themselves. He says, I don't know if I'm doing it right. I just know I can't stop. You say, what happens if you stop? He says, the organization fractures. People get hurt. Everything my father and grandfather built collapses. You say, that's a lot of weight. He says, it's the weight I was born to carry. You photograph him by the river. He's sitting on a stone, looking at the water, and the image is so raw it makes your chest hurt. A man carrying a country on his shoulders. You don't show him that photo. You keep it for yourself. You move into his family home in Setagaya. It's not an apartment. It's a compound. Traditional Japanese estate. Walls. Gates. Guards. The main house is Meiji era. Tatami rooms. Sliding doors. A garden designed by someone famous 100 years ago. Koi pond. Stone lanterns. Perfectly pruned pines. It's museum quality. It's also a fortress. There are always men here. Meetings in the main hall. Phone calls in the study. People coming and going at all hours. You learn to navigate around it. You set up a darkroom in the east wing. Takumi has it built for you. Temperature controlled. Blackout curtains. Ventilation. Everything you need. You spend hours in there. Printing. Developing. Losing yourself in chemistry and light. The work changes. You're not photographing rallies anymore. You're photographing the life. The house. The guards. The garden. Him in quiet moments. Reading. Thinking. Staring at something you can't see. The images are intimate. Unsettling. Beautiful. You start getting offers. A gallery in Roppongi wants a show. A magazine wants a photo essay. You accept both. Takumi doesn't interfere. He says, your work is yours. I don't own it. The show is called Allegiance. It opens in September. The gallery is packed. Critics come. Collectors. Other photographers. People who've heard rumors about who you married and want to see what that looks like through a lens. The work is controversial. Some call it propaganda. Some call it art. A review in the Japan Times calls it a disturbingly beautiful portrait of nationalism from the inside. You're not sure if that's praise. Takumi says, they're talking about it. That's what matters. The attention brings problems. You get emails.
Threats, some of them.
Foreigners calling you a traitor. Japanese progressives calling you complicit. Someone spray paints fascist on the gallery door. Takumi has the gallery under watch after that. Men in cars outside. You hate it. You tell him you don't need protection. He says, you don't get to decide that anymore. You fight about it. The first real fight. You're in the garden, voices raised, and you say, I didn't marry you to become a prisoner. He says, you married me knowing what I am. This is what that means. You say, I need freedom. He says, you have freedom. You don't have recklessness. There's a difference. You storm off. You stay in the darkroom for 6 hours. When you come out, he's sitting outside the door. He says, I'm not trying to control you. I'm trying to keep you alive. You say, from what? He says, people who would hurt you to hurt me. And there it is. The thing you've been avoiding. The reality of the geometry. You're not just his wife. You're leverage. A pressure point. Something that can be used against him. You sit down beside him. You say, how many people want to hurt you? He says, enough that I don't sleep well. You take his hand. The scarred knuckles. You say, I'm not leaving. He says, I know. But something shifts after that. You start noticing more. The cars that follow you. The phones that appear and disappear. The conversations that stop when you enter a room. The tension in the house before certain meetings. You're living inside a structure you don't fully understand, and the walls are closer than you thought. The pregnancy happens in November. You're not trying. You're not trying. It just happens. You take the test alone in the bathroom at 6 a.m. 2 lines.
Clear.
Immediate. You sit on the floor for 20 minutes holding the stick. Then you find him in the garden. He's feeding the koi. You say, I'm pregnant. He goes completely still.
The kind of still that stops time.
Then he turns and looks at you, and his face does something you've never seen. It cracks. Not dramatically. Quietly. Like ice under weight. He says, are you certain? You hand him the test. He looks at it like it's evidence of something impossible. Then he sits down on the stone bench and puts his head in his hands. You panic. You say, if you don't want this. He looks up. His eyes are wet. He says, I have wanted this since the day I met you. I just didn't think I deserved it. You sit beside him. You take his hand. You say, we're having a baby. He says, we're having a baby. Then he kisses you like a man who just received a pardon. The pregnancy is closely monitored, not just by doctors, by him, by his people. You have a security detail now. 2 men. Always. You hate it. You complain. He says, you're carrying my child. That changes everything. You say, it's just a baby. He says, it's my heir. The word lands like a stone.
Heir.
Not just a child. A continuation. A dynasty. You're not just pregnant. You're carrying the future of his organization. The weight of that is crushing. You photograph yourself. Self-portraits in the mirror. Your body changing. The bump growing. You look tired.
Scared.
Also radiant. The images are raw. You don't show them to anyone. The baby is a boy. Born in March. At a private hospital in Shibuya with more security than an embassy. Takumi is in the room. He holds your hand through all of it. When the baby arrives, the doctor hands him to Takumi first. He looks at his son like he's holding the sun. He says in Japanese, you are everything. They name him Haruto. Light and fly. You hold him and think about Seattle. About the life you left. About the impossibility of explaining this to anyone you used to know. You're a mother now. To the son of a man who leads an ultranationalist movement. This is your life. The first year is a blur. Sleepless nights. Feeding. Changing. Learning to function on no rest. Takumi is present more than you expected. He takes Haruto in the mornings. Walks with him in the garden. Talks to him in Japanese. Teaching him words he can't understand yet. You photograph all of it. Father and son. Legacy in real time. But there are darker moments. Meetings that go long into the night. Phone calls that make Takumi's face go hard. One night, he comes home at 3 a.m. with blood on his shirt. You're awake, feeding Haruto. You see him in the doorway. He freezes. You say, "Whose blood is that?" He says, "Not mine." You say, "That's not what I asked." He doesn't answer. He goes to shower. You sit there with your son, holding him, and you think for the first time clearly, I brought a child into something dangerous. You confront him the next day. Haruto is napping. You sit across from him in the study and say, "I need to know what you do." He says, "You know what I do." You say, "I know what you show me. I need to know what you don't." He's quiet for a long time. Then he says, "We protect our interests. Sometimes that requires force." You say, "Define force." He says, "You don't want those details." You say, "I have a son. I want every detail." He looks at you. Then he tells you, "Not everything. Enough." The organization has enemies, other groups, Yakuza, progressives, politicians who want them gone. Sometimes there are conflicts. Sometimes those conflicts escalate. He's responsible for managing that, for protecting his people, for making sure the organization survives. He's hurt people. He's ordered people hurt. He's never killed anyone, but he's made decisions that led to deaths. You sit with that. Your husband is not a murderer, but he's not innocent. He's somewhere in between. A man doing what he believes is necessary to preserve something he thinks is worth preserving. You say, "And our son? What does he inherit?" Takumi says, "A choice. When he's old enough. I will never force him into this." You say, "But the expectation is there." He says, "The expectation is always there." You think about this for weeks. You photograph Haruto obsessively. Every stage, every moment. You're documenting him because you need to remember that he's a person. Not a symbol, not an heir, a boy. When Haruto is 2, things escalate. There's an incident. A rival group attacks one of their offices in Saitama. 3 of Takumi's men are hospitalized. He's gone for a week. Meetings, strategy, retaliation. You don't ask. You just wait. When he comes back, he's different. Harder. He holds Haruto longer than usual, like he's trying to remember why he's doing this. You're in the garden one evening, watching him with Haruto, and you say, "Can you stop?" He says, "Stop what?" You say, "This." All of it. Walk away. He looks at you like you've suggested he stop breathing. He says, "If I stop, people die." The organization fractures. Everything collapses. You say, "And if you don't stop, our son grows up in this." He says, "Our son grows up strong, protected, with purpose." You say, "Our son grows up with blood on his hands before he's old enough to choose." He doesn't answer. Because you're right. That night, you make a decision. You start documenting everything. Not just the beautiful moments, the hard ones, the guards, the meetings, the tension. You're building an archive. Evidence. Not for publication. For Haruto. So when he's older, he can see what this life actually was. And he can choose. You stay. Not because it's safe. Because you love him. Because Haruto deserves both parents. Because walking away would mean losing the man who looked at your photographs at Yasukuni and said, "You see things clearly." But you also start planning. An exit. Not immediate. Long-term. You set up accounts. American accounts. Separate from his money. You keep your passport current. Haruto has dual citizenship. American and Japanese. You make sure of it. If things go wrong, you need options. Takumi doesn't know about this. You don't tell him. It's the first secret you've kept. It feels like betrayal. It also feels like survival. By the time Haruto is 3, you've been in Japan for 5 years. You're not the woman who landed at Narita with a camera and a prayer. You're someone harder, clearer. You've photographed a world most people don't believe exists. You've married into it. You've brought a child into it. You've made compromises you never thought you'd make. But you've also made the best work of your life. Your second show is at the Tokyo Metropolitan Museum of Photography. It's called Bloodlines. It's about legacy, inheritance, the things we carry whether we choose them or not. The reviews are extraordinary. The New York Times calls it essential. The Guardian calls it a masterwork of embedded journalism. You win awards, international recognition. You're not just a photographer anymore. You're an important photographer. Takumi comes to the opening. He stands in front of a photograph of himself holding infant Haruto, both of them backlit in the garden. He says, "You made me look human." You say, "You are human." He says, "Sometimes I forget." That night, after the opening, you're lying in bed and he says, "If you ever want to leave, I won't stop you."
You turn to him.
You say, "What?" He says, "You and Haruto. If this becomes too much, if you need to go, I'll let you." You say, "Why are you saying this?" He says, "Because I love you, and love doesn't trap people." You kiss him. Then you say, "I'm not leaving." He says, "I know, but I needed you to know you could." You hold him, and you think about the girl in Seattle who wanted something bigger than coffee shops and boring boyfriends. You found it. It's terrifying and beautiful and dangerous and real. You're still here. The camera is still running. The story isn't finished. But you're not running anymore. You're standing in the frame, focused,
Clear.
photographing the moment after the moment. The thing that remains when everything else falls away. And the light in Japan keeps arriving and leaving without apology. You've learned to work with it.